Right, hello. So you're the first one onto the stream. So I'm gonna do one this time in the police body armor, because somebody was saying that I have more modern body armor the other day. So this is sort of like the police issue ones you can buy second hand. Right, Peach. So I'm gonna see if I can manage 2 hours on today's stream. I've got myself a very big coffee. Yeah, thanks, Peach. Thanks for reminding everybody to like the stream. Might be worth saying a reminder of that though when more people get in as well. But yeah, I'm going to do it like the other day, because I think it keeps me a bit more energised if I'm not sitting down in a chair. I think when I'm standing up, it keeps me a bit more awake. Oh, that's brilliant. I hope you bought it for £10. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I find the same thing when I'm at breaks at work as well. Sometimes, like I can be standing up and working, and then as soon as I go on break and have a sit down, I then feel more tired than. Yeah, brilliant price for that. Yeah, getting body armor for £10 and all that. Got something in this pocket as well. Like the other day when I found something in the other pocket. What have I got in this one? Oh, crossbow bolts. Tell you why they're in there. I'll put them back at some point. It's because I sometimes wear this vest when shooting the pistol crossbow, so I can just pull it against my stomach, or like chest to cock it that way. Yeah, I sometimes stream video games, but I generally always stream them on YouTube anyway, but I play on PC. Yeah, that was the thing when I used to work in a warehouse, because that was standing up all day. Well, my current job's standing up all day, to be honest, but yeah, especially when I worked in a warehouse and you're actually walking about constantly, you feel tired after your shift, but not actually during it. Yeah, like I said, I haven't worn this out and about for ages, because thankfully I don't work somewhere where I need it anymore. I live in England. For the guy with a load of numbers in his name. The cheapest gas mask random dragon I've ever bought might have been the one recently where I bought that Polish MC1, is it? Yeah, the Polish MC1 for, I think it was like £5 or £6. Yeah, I know where Serbia is. I don't obviously live in Serbia, but I know where, you know, former Yugoslavia sort of country Serbia is, next to Croatia and everything else. So to keep me energised in this stream, this is my massive mug of coffee. It's one of those big HP ones, which is like it holds nearly a litre, I think. See if I can show you that there's coffee in there without spilling any. Will the angle show up on the webcam? Just about, I think. Yeah, you can just about see there's coffee in there. Still a bit too hot at the moment, so I'll give that a couple more minutes to cool down before I start drinking any of that. It's just because I'm doing a stream, that way I don't have an excuse to say, oh, my throat's getting dry. So I've done myself, and I filled up the water bottle as well, so if I finish the coffee and then I need a drink, I've got the water bottle. Now, the reason I bought those is when I used to work at Argos, we used to get stuff like that in for Christmas. And it came with a couple of little bottles of HP sauce, the mug, and a HP spoon. Now, normally they were something like 10 to 20 quid because they were like a gift set. And what would happen is, like I was saying, that's really expensive, 10 to 20 quid, wouldn't pay that for them. But after Christmas, when we had stock left, we generally put them down on clearance for a couple of quid each. So what I'd do is, because I worked in the stock room, obviously I could see how many were there. When there were a couple in, you know, and they were reduced, I'd then buy them with my staff discount as well, and I'd get them even cheaper. So, you know, I was getting those mugs for like £1 something each with the HP sauce and the spoons. So I ended up buying like 6 or 7 of them at one point. Not all on the same day, but I just kept going, oh yeah, buy some more of them. Oh yeah, that's cool, Random Dragon. Yeah, I think my mate Bart's going to hopefully start doing all those designs next week, because he's got to finish his current art commission this week, and then as of next week he should be free to start drawing up the cool things. KGB secret, I think, if you listen to my critics, because I work for Putin. I'm a Russian agent, even though I'm not Russian, and I'm certainly not getting paid. But yeah, so hopefully as of someday next week the new design should start coming out. Yeah, it's arrived. I showed it in the last video, but I've not modified it yet. I've done a PDF where I've put the hose on it. I've played Kerbal Space Program, but not properly. It's not a game I actually own. One of my friends has it, where you can launch those little weird green astronaut things into space, can't you, on your poorly designed rockets? Well, I'm sure some people... no, you have to enlighten me on what happened on that date, because off the top of my head I don't know. But remember, there's a thing that says don't bring politics and all that into it, so if it's people, you know, killing each other over stupid things, I'm not really very interested for the sake of this stream. Right, so there's 20 people watching now, so that's good. That number should normally go up, because sometimes it gets to like 30 to 40 to even 60. Do you mean like this Canadian C3 mask? Because I bought my C3 years ago. I bought my C3 from a website, I think it's called Surplus and Lost, or Surplus and Outdoors. It was one of those. I didn't even buy that one from eBay, and that was about £20 to £30. Yeah, thanks Peach for reminding everyone to like stream. I obviously know that Kosovo's a place. That's the one which is like the Albanian and Serbian bit, isn't it? Ah, yeah. What you're thinking of, I'm not going to even be able to pronounce your name, is Makai Mura, if that's correct. What that is the anti-fog lenses, but the problem is they'll have probably all completely dried up at this point and will be useless. But how they work in theory is you open the tin, and then you remove a part of the GP5's inner eyepiece, you put them in and reassemble the eyepiece, and it stops the mask fogging up as much. They're not really needed though, and it would be easier if you just got some anti-fog paste and put that on. Hi Georgia, what this is it's an Orient one. It's one I ended up just treating myself to because I wanted to get a better watch. So it's Orient, which is a brand owned by Seiko, so it's a Japanese in-house movement. You can get these between about £130 and £170. It's a Mako 2. It's water resistant to 200 meters, supposedly. It's got the rotating bezel on it, which is one of the reasons I want it. So if I want to time something, so for example, if I wanted to time something that's 10 minutes from now, what I'd do, hang on, put that all the way to there on the bezel, and then you can see when the minute hand gets to the 10 that you've had like your 10 minutes, so you can use it for timing stuff easily. Well, that's going to be really awkward trying to show that on camera, if I can flip my arm around the right way. But yeah, you can see where the 10 is on the bezel. That might be an interesting video, Call Me God. I could certainly try and do something like that, I guess, at some point. Yeah, because the GP5 has Tissot tubes, as Peach says, it tends to fog up, it tends to defog itself anyway. Yeah, I was saying it seems nice. I've got it for work because the problem, I was saying this in the last stream, but I have this Seiko Kinetic, which I've ended up using as a daily wear watch for quite a while. And this is a good watch, don't get me wrong. The issue of it is no bezel on it. But the main issue, I don't like it, no lume whatsoever. So with this Orient watch, it's obviously got lume on, but you're not going to see that because we're in a room with the lights on. But this watch doesn't have lume. So the issue is, if you're in a room that's dark or you're outside at night, you go to check your watch, you cannot see the time. And having a black face with kind of silvery stainless steel sort of, you know, hands is really not good at all for trying to see in the dark. Because, you know, you get a little bit of light reflecting on it, or it's just too dark and you can't actually read it. It's a nice watch, but it's far more of a dress watch than it is actually a practical watch. And because I used to really like wearing my Vostok Amphibia all the time, anyway, what was I getting at? You know, I wanted one with lume on. Now, I might be able to demonstrate the lume actually if I get my brighter flashlight. I'll just shine it on there for a moment, and then I'll so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to shine the flashlight onto the watch. I'll just do that way you can actually see it in frame, because otherwise I'm going to cut it off, aren't I, with the disclaimer sort of thing. The problem is with G-Shocks, I've not actually had a proper G-Shock, but I had a Casio Wave Scepter that's meant to be very similar to a G-Shock, and that was one that went wrong like as soon as the guarantee ended. Right, so if I turn that off now, you'll probably be able to see the lume for a bit, but because I'm in a room with lights on, the lume will fade pretty quickly to the point you're not going to be able to see it, because obviously the lume is for in the dark really. But yeah, fairly quickly that will go back into being a you know, like standard sort of normal looking one. If I could find my UV torch, and I've got absolutely no idea where I've put the UV torch, that makes it glow really brightly. Yeah, they're deactivated, so basically they were once real rifles and then they've had bits welded in them or whatever, so you can own them as a civilian without a license. Yeah, it's similar to getting a replica. Obviously it doesn't shoot like a replica doesn't shoot, but they were actually real rifles once. I'd say make MREs unless you can buy them really cheaply. Yeah, that's the thing is, like I'm saying, G-Shocks are probably quite good watches. It's just because I had one of Casio's other high-end watches, and you know, it went wrong literally like a week or a month or something once the guarantee ended. It sort of put me off a bit. I've actually got that watch back off now. I've put on the windowsill to see if I leave it in, you know, the summer or spring sunlight all day for weeks, if it will actually start working again. Alright, cool. I have actually been to Slovakia, but not for very long. We might have even discussed this before. It was when I was in the capital for, you know, an afternoon before, once I left the Czech Republic before I got to Hungary. I've got a weird model of Komandurski, but it's not the standard Komandurski. I think it's called the Komandurski Cadet. It doesn't have the date on it. It's just literally the watch face. Oh, that sounds very good, Mike. Weapon Collector, who's just posted directly above you, Gabriel, has got tutorial videos on making MRE and survival things. So, I just recommend really watching his. Hang on, let's see if I can get it. So there's obviously my Amphibia. It still works if you manually wind it. The problem is because the rotor keeps falling off, because I've said before about the screw problem. It's not very good because it's not an automatic watch essentially anymore. But the watch itself still functions fine. Somewhere in this drawer I have my Komandurski. At least I'm pretty certain. That's one of my through lights that I've not seen in ages. Right, that's where that is, hidden in that drawer. And here is the thing I was looking for. Put that a bit closer so you can see it. although it looks like it's too bright to actually see the watch face properly. And it's actually got a really nice sort of engraved, well, it's obviously machine engraved, but it's a really nice thing on the back of this one. If the webcam can focus on it. I'll hold it back a bit and see if it focuses. Probably isn't going to focus, but the picture on there is like a sunrise coming over the ocean and a gull. And it's got some Russian text I can't read. But if I'll prove that this works, because what I can actually do is I can wind this up. And we'll very quickly set the time on it. So it is 2014 UK time, so let me then put the watch to that. I'll just put it to 2015, reconnect that, and as you can hopefully see now, that does actually work. It's just I never put a strap on it, but yeah, this watch is fine. It's just I've never bothered putting a strap on it, but I just got it really cheap on eBay when I was looking at different Voss stocks. The case back feels slightly loose, so I might have to actually tighten that if I'm going to ever use it as a watch, but I've got this one now, so probably wouldn't. No idea. I don't know if there's a production date on it, is there? Well, it's a CCCP one, so that obviously gives you some idea of the date, because it's obviously a pre-collapse of the Soviet Union one, because my amphibia is actually a Russian one made after the collapse, so it just says something else instead of CCCP, but the bit where it says 17 I know is a 17 dual movement, but to be honest the webcam quality is probably not good enough that you can read the small writing on it, but yeah, it's just going to blur it. I really need to buy a 1080p webcam. I will do that at some point. When that point is, I don't know, but to be honest, I might buy one at the weekend so it comes during the week. I think I'll probably do that, because I'm not going to be streaming at the weekends, I'm going to be working. But as I do enough streams, I might as well get a 1080p webcam, to be honest. My favourite colour is actually orange. Right, anyway, I'm sorry if I've missed some comments, but obviously where I've been talking about some of the things for a while, I'm going to definitely have missed comments. Well, so far I've not sold anything on Teespring, but it is very easy to set up. It's probably going to be, like I say, Bart's probably not going to be able to start doing pictures for it until next week, but once he starts doing pictures, I imagine it will actually start selling stuff, because there'll be, you know, properly good drawn pictures, not just me putting my channel logo on a few things. Oh, actually saying that, I did put the SHMS from the Scary Gas Mask video on a couple of things on there, because it is very easy to make merch on there, that's a nice thing. Still a little bit too warm. As I've just said, I've not sold any merch, but it's only been up since yesterday evening. I think I've had like 50 people look at the store page so far, but like I said, until I've got the proper artist done designs on there, which will hopefully be next week, I'm not expecting to sell much. I've just got it set up so there's an account now. Yeah, as I said, I'm definitely not going to do a video on it though, Mike, till I've got some of the custom merch on it so I can show it, and obviously when some of the custom merch is on there, I'm definitely going to get it ordered so I can actually show it in the videos as well. Because I quite like the look of the sweatshirts and the hoodies, so I think I might order some of those just so I can wear them quite often while doing YouTube videos for a bit of branding while sorry, apologies, doing the video. You're on asking Mike about that, or me, Peach? Yeah, it is huge. It's like nearly a litre size. So either I'm very small, or it's a very big mug. Yep, it's a police stab vest, Kevlar level 2 and stab resistant vest. So how it works is you've got a Kevlar plate in the front and back, and then they put like chainmail stuff over the front of the Kevlar, which you can feel if you run your hand over it, because it feels like a grid. So the idea is that, you know, obviously works like chainmail does to block knives and blades. Ah, that's very good, Mike. Yeah, cheers, Corey, but with my friend, because he's like an actual A-level, well, he's done A-level, he's done university art courses, and I, like, you know, he lives down the road from me. We're just setting it up like that because it's the sort of stuff he wants to draw. It lets him put more stuff into his art portfolio, and obviously I can split the profits with him quite easily because I know exactly where he lives, so he trusts me that, you know, when I cash stuff out, I'm going to actually be sending him half of it. Kevlar feels just like a kind of soft, flexible material. That's all I can really describe it as. I mean, the actual Kevlar, if you get Kevlar out of a bit, is like fluffy kind of yellow stuff, or like grey stuff. It's you know, like very fibrous. It's a bit like fiberglass or asbestos, that kind of stuff. But it's, you know, it's definitely, compared to the big flak jacket I was wearing yesterday, this would offer the areas it covers anyway better protection. And as saying, that's why Kevlar replaced ballistic nylon, because it's so much thinner. If you see me wearing it like that, you can kind of see how thick the Kevlar would be. It's not all that thick. You know, like that thick or something, for enough that would stop a knife and pistol rounds. But obviously it conforms to the shape of the body being Kevlar, which means it's fairly comfortable because it's what they call soft body armour, not hard body armour, like plates are. Now, funny enough that you say about that, Uranite, if I'm pronouncing your name right, Tumbo, who's just said evening, has done a video on homemade body armour where he used, I think it's ceramic floor tiles. You know, like small ceramic tiles so they actually flex. You know, then put in front of Kevlar or whatever it was. And that is very effective because you can find videos on YouTube where people shoot similar vests and they do hold up to a lot of abuse. Probably about 100, I imagine, masks that I own, but I've not got a list of them anymore, so I'm not entirely sure. Well, if I ever do go to a range, I'll definitely do a video, you know, while there, but you've still got a bit of a way to go then, Russian Gopher, until you get on my level of amount of masks. But, you know, it's up to you how many you want, isn't it? Now, this is the old generation police vest, and I might be able to show you why, because if I stand up on here, you'll... I'll just squat down a bit so I'm in the right sort of angle. What you'll see is it doesn't quite cover your stomach. So what I did is I bought one that was just one that's a bit taller than me. And then... It's difficult because my jumper is the same colour as the vest, but you can hopefully see, you know, where it goes. But yeah, the reason they changed this kind of vest for the most parts of, you know, like the police force, is just because the police could basically get their guts cut out from underneath with these sort of vests. Because obviously, yeah, they protect the heart and lungs and everything, but they didn't protect the stomach. And the idea, I think, originally was so police can run around and move better, or if they're sitting in a car, the vest doesn't cut into them as much. But obviously, the downside of that is that if somebody knows this is the kind of vest the police are wearing, they can go underneath the vest with a knife. So they then changed the vests to be the lower down type vests. So what I did is I ordered one that was, because I'm quite broad shoulders. Oh, thank you very much. Hot shot, that's very nice of you. Because yeah, the what was I going to say? Because the sort of, because I'm quite broad-shouldered, but I'm not all that tall, I end up generally being able to sometimes buy, especially it worked out well with this, if I bought the vest for somebody that was a bit taller, it fits me fine shoulder-wise, but it actually means it goes down a bit lower on me and covers a bit more of my stomach. The police in the UK aren't shot at that often, but I imagine that might change as the crime rates keep getting worse in this country. But obviously they're shot at enough that it justifies wearing the vest, but because these vests combine stab and bullet protection and they're lightweight, there's no reason not to have them. I've got an M50 for the person that was asking, but I can't really get it at the moment. Actually, I can. I'll tell you what, I'll get the M50, but I'm not going to put it on because I'd have to take my glasses off. Now, I think it's the M50 in this bag, or is this my M40? Hang on, let me check. Yep, this is the M50. So yeah, just proof that I have one. There you go, that's a real M50, it's not an airsoft one. There you go, it's got the proper filters and it's got the old valves that didn't seal properly, which is why they replaced those valves with a different design. Avon 2001 it says. So yeah, it was quite difficult getting this because obviously US surplus is export banned, but there we go. I still prefer the CT12 FM12 to this, because as much as this is better in some ways, you know, I prefer having masks in 40mm because it's a more universal filter size. What do you mean, safety side off of an Avon mask? I'm not sure what you mean. I think you'd be fine if you used a Czechoslovakian filter for 15 minutes, because they're certainly not as bad as GP5 filters. I don't know if they're even confirmed to contain asbestos, but you know, for 15 minutes that's very low exposure, even if it did have asbestos and a bit was leaking. Because lots of armies and things sell them off for money. Which one? The S10 or the FM12? Which one? You can only swap them on the Avon masks which have the ones that actually have the removable sides. If it's one that's got like the glued in one, you obviously can't remove it. You keep saying unscrew it, but you're not actually saying what you want me to unscrew, so I have no idea what you're on about. And no, I've not fixed my GP9. Yeah, S10s all had fixed plugs as far as I'm aware. I think it's the SF10 which had the unscrewable side bits. Early FM12s, or some models of FM12s, don't have removable side bits, but most of them do. But I've got an FM12 that you can't swap the filter on, but because I'd only use one filter at a time anyway, and it's a left loading filter, that's fine for me. Alright, okay. Yeah, it's just because I kept randomly seeing the comment coming up, I wondered who he was talking to. Yeah, I got a GSR, like what Tumbo was saying, when the GSR first went into service, there were loads and loads of GSRs going on eBay with the full kit and brand new sealed filters for like £70 to £100. So that's how I got mine. But, you know, I think for a while I was making sure the serial numbers couldn't be seen in the videos, but nobody cares now, they're massive. They're on the surplus market. Alright, cheers, Random Dragon. If you can get a cheap GP9, but they're not all that amazing. They're better than some of the more modern Russian masks, but they're not brilliant. I'm just going to roll that sleeve up a bit more, so if people want to spot the watch, they can do. I'm pretty sure the two Swedish masks I have are the Swedish, what says Folk gas mask, which I think is called something like the Type 32, isn't it? and I've also got the Forshida F2 A4, which is the civilian version of the Forshida or Forshada, however it's pronounced. I think in Swedish military service it's called something like the Skydmask 90, which I assume is like protective mask, gas mask 90. Well, the Czech M10, it's very frustrating to put the filters in. I mean, again, it's awful in the sense it's a cheek filter mask, but the build quality itself isn't that bad, so swings and roundabouts. Yeah, I like cheek filter masks visually. I mean, obviously they're all M17 clones originally. The XM28 is the one that actually looks cool. But again, cheek filters aren't a good idea unless you're using them against anything but particulates, because of how quickly they tend to, the filters run out, and then obviously you can't swap them. As far as I'm aware, probably not too much. I think places like Israel probably do some sort of baby respirator, but I think a lot of the things now just have an electric pump for them, or they do like the oxygen tent kind of things, where they have a tent that has a filter unit that then pumps air in, so it's just a positive pressure tent that you can put all your family and your pets in. That's good, Rich. So I take it you've figured out now, like, all the sort of bit ins and outs using the bouncy castle blower. Yeah, S10s tend to be a bit more expensive now, but the thing, as I've said to people before, is just keep you know, looking from when they're a decent price, because if you see one that's overpriced, you don't have to buy it. If you keep checking eBay, eventually you'll spot them at, you know, decent prices, and then you're not going to get ripped off. Well, there's a lot of debate whether or not electromagnetic radiation is actually dangerous to people, at least in standard amounts. You know, ionising radiation is obviously bad, but oh, thank you very much, Foxy Boy. Yeah, cheers. Do appreciate that. I'll be putting all the money I get from this stream towards a better webcam, you know, when I order that, probably on Sunday. I normally clean them first if I can tell that they're, you know, like a second-hand actually used mask, other than just one that's covered in loads of talc from storage. Basically, it's just in case people start bringing up dodgy topics, because in the UK we don't actually have freedom of speech, like in the US, at least, or it's far more limited, so it's not really freedom of speech. So it's just when people start going on to dodgy topics, I can point at that, well, I should say point at that way, and then obviously, if there's, you know, if people want to complain, then they can just get blocked or whatever. But, yeah, I'm having a good evening, thank you. I'm gonna have a bit more of my coffee now, I think. So, if I get any more good questions, I'll read them once I've finished having a swig of my coffee. No, I've not actually. Is that actually called the League of Gentlemen, or is it called the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen? Because League of Gentlemen was a BBC comedy series as well. Yeah, I'm literally using my nearly 1 litre HP mug. Yeah, exactly what Tumbo said. Freedom of speech only if you say what the government likes. So not really freedom of speech, is it? Yeah, but you can buy the hose separately that the TF1 uses. Right, let me search that. See if I can. I'm just going to search League of Gentlemen 1960 gas mask. Oh, it looks like Mark IVs, is it? Yeah, it looks like British Mark IV respirators. Mark IV General Service respirators. If you like the look of the Mark IV or a Mark V is one of the pictures Bart's going to do for the merch. Because it's one of those classic iconic masks. I'll just put up a picture in the chat so people know which mask I'm on about. This isn't an ideal picture, but this one will do. Hang on. So in this picture, if you look at the mask that's second from the right, that's the Mark IV, next to the PH hood. That's the mask, yeah, that's in that picture. Yeah, the S8's the one next to S10, very rare. They have one at Bovington Tank Museum, actually. I've seen one there. Yeah, I'll have to check that movie out. I've not seen it, but looks like it'd be worth a watch. Sadly, I don't think you can make 1 litre mugs on Teespring. If you could, I'd definitely do a 1 litre mug with like a get Bart to do a very cool picture on it, but if it's like a 4A GSR, I think that is rare, yeah, because it's like, is that the one that's like halfway between the Mark IV and a Mark V? Well, as I said, I don't play very much Metro. Well, yeah, the S8 is like somewhere between an S10 and an S6. It's got bits that, you know, would later become features in the S10. As far as I'm aware, yes, Teespring do sell stuff in the US directly. Like, I think they print some of it and sell it in the US. I think they do US, Canada, and most of Europe. Yeah, I spoke about Article 13 a lot. I mean, you'll have to see if there's any practicalities to them actually putting it into place, but it's not a good thing. And as I've said to people, that's one of the reasons I voted out of Europe, or, you know, voted out in the Brexit referendum, because I do not like a lot of the EU's very dodgy legislation. I think if the EU was seriously reformed, it might be a good thing to be a member of, but definitely not a single currency as well. But you know, the only reason I'd want to be in the EU is just the easy travel to a lot of European countries. And that's most of the reasons I've heard actual people I know that would have, you know, who said they voted to remain, that could give me good reasons. That was one of the reasons they said, just because they like travelling around Europe, which is fair enough. Probably the Forshida, I'd say. The Forshida F2. Sadly, I don't have the military F2, but I have the A4. Because that's, again, a very similar mask to like the S10 FM12. It's actually more comfortable, I find, personally. I'd rather wear the I'd rather wear a Forshida mask, or however it's pronounced, for longer. Because out of all the masks I've got, my F2A4 fits my face, like, literally perfectly. You know, everything on my face lines up exactly where it should do, and I can even not have to tighten the straps much, because it, like, suction cups to my face, where my chin, like, perfectly welds into the mask. However, the voice diaphragm isn't as good as the Avon masks. You know, and there's a couple of other things I prefer about the FM12 or CT12, but it's very close. They're just called something like Gost ABEC filters. I don't know if they've actually got a name. I've already done a video on that, Foxy Boy. If you just search S10 drinking tube or something like that, you'll find a video on my channel. It's a 1939 one, but it is the World War I model, because it's a #1 Mark III. I'm not going to take it down because obviously it's a bit of a pain to put back up. I'll just demonstrate the bolt still works on this. It's pretty awkward doing it left-handed with your thing, but no, if you read the FAQ, it says I'm medically unfit for military service, so even if I wanted to join up, I couldn't. But they've been in a bit of trouble, haven't they, recently, with not really being able to get recruits. I do love the sound bolt actions make, though. Same with pump shotguns, you know, like the racking noise. That's one of those things where when I get the Enfield down, I'll quite often, for literally like 10-20 minutes, just be going with the bolt. That's a shame there's only one surviving one. There's only 2 surviving Stuckers in proper condition. One of those is at RAF Hendon. And I've seen that. I'd say you'd need a modern filter for it, Elicon, so it actually, you know, you've got a filter that's not going to have been really out of date. But yeah, if you watch my video where I put the CM3 in the, not CM3, sorry, I used the MC1, but it's essentially the same mask, where I put it in the sodium hydroxide, it survives surprisingly well. Yeah, bolt actions, for whatever reason, for quite a while, didn't have to be as majorly deactivated as a lot of the other guns. I've seen a lot of the Khyber Pass style guns, which is probably what you're kind of thinking of, where there's the all like the kind of guns they've built from almost scrap. The problem is the charcoal's probably too old in the original filter to get the chemicals. It would stop particulates like dust and irradiated dust, you know, stuff like that. But it wouldn't actually block chemicals, especially if the charcoal's already saturated. I'd say as long as you can get one that's in date, they should be absolutely fine, the new Russian filters, but Polish FP5 filters, at least for me, are cheaper. Because B-Store and I think a couple of other sellers have them in stock, and often they're under £10. So if you can get those in date or that are very recently expired and they come all foil wrapped and everything, they fit all the old masks, I'd say personally go for that. But obviously if you're somewhere in a country where you can't get FP5 filters and the modern Russian filters are cheaper, it might be worth doing that. Yeah, I'd say the MC1 fogs up a bit faster than the GP5, but it does have Tissot tubes, and you can just put anti-fog paste on the inside of the lenses. Yeah, just be aware that if something works against some things like cigarette smoke, it might not work against proper chemicals. That's why I'd always say get a modern filter, because lots of things in cigarette smoke are particle based. So the particle filter could be working, blocking the particles, and then you think it's working, but some stuff is actually getting through. Sorry, I haven't seen your previous comments on that. No, I've only played Siege, and I think it was Rainbow Six Vegas 1 and 2 I played. And what was that other one? Rogue Spear or something was it called? It was like one of the really old Tom Clancy Rainbow Six games. Yeah, we're not doing a pantomime at the moment, we're doing the summer show, because pantomime's for like Christmas sort of time. I think I vaguely remember the cover art of that, if it's the one I'm thinking of, where there's a load of guys' faces looking out and maybe there's like a street or something underneath them. I could be getting that completely wrong. Well, modern Swiss filters are certainly safe. Is that the civilian duty mask from World War II? That certainly has asbestos in it. The one that's also known as like the Warden gas mask. Alright, see you World War II Alfie. Have a good evening. I've not played Metro Exodus yet, or The Division 2. The film Gangs in New York, the one with, what's his name in? I know Leonardo DiCaprio's in it, but I'm on about Oil Man, Daniel Day-Lewis. Yeah, that's alright. I didn't think it was amazing, but I thought it was pretty good. I've played Verdun, but not Tannenberg. Wow, I'm not really into game conventions, and that's the thing. Like, in games, I play a lot of games, or at least older games, but I'm not into like the whole esports thing or like E3 kind of stuff at all. So I have no interest in game conventions. Well, does the PMK3 have unique filters? A mask I don't have but one is the Canadian C4, the Airboss C4. Now, if the filter's been sealed properly, there's a much better chance it's going to work than if it's been opened, but the issue is once the filter gets past a certain age, I still think there's a risk that probably, you know, the seals on the filter aren't going to be that good, and stuff mixed in with the charcoal may have gone off. See if I can finish the coffee off in a minute. I've only got a little bit left, but I don't want to as I say, let it go cold. There we go, all gone. And I'm not making a face like that because the coffee's disgusting, it's just because I've had to drink the last of it a bit faster than I like to. Nicest looking gas mask. I don't know, probably just something like the S10 or whatever. I really like those sort of designs. Yeah, but the problem is Swiss filters, there's quite a few designs. As far as I'm aware from some stuff I've read, and again this could be flawed, is that Swiss filters contained asbestos up until the model I'll show you. The previous gens had asbestos in the World War II ones, and right, where is he? Should be in my drawer somewhere. Just bear with me a moment. I hope this is in there, unless I put it in a bag with... Is this the one? Yeah, this is the one. So if you've got the filter which is shaped like this, with the orange lip around the top, I've heard this type is safe, but obviously be very cautious about that. The ones that apparently aren't safe are the ones that are like really big cone shaped ones, but are a similar design. Don't know how obvious that's going to be in the bag, but... Well, if you emptied it out properly and got all the contents out and disposed of safely, then yes, you could use it safely. But as I've said quite a few times in videos, make sure you definitely know what you're doing if you're going to do that. Otherwise it's, you know, a bit dodgy. £30 for a 4A one certainly isn't a bad price. Let me have a look on Amazon at the webcam I wanted to buy and see when the earliest is I could have it delivered. It's probably not going to be able to turn up before I work at the weekend, but I want to see if I can get one delivered for Monday, which I bet I could. 1080p webcam, and it was... what was the brand I was looking at? The Logitech one that's 60 quid with 2 microphones on, although I've got the blue Snowball. Where does it say? Tomorrow 6 PM to 10 PM if you order it within right, yeah, I'll do that actually now, I think. But what I'll do is I'll just make sure I go through Weapon Collector's link to get that. Has he made a comment recently? Oh, yep, there he has. Right, go to channel, just double check I go for his link just so he gets a bit of commission out of it. and then I'll be back reading the comments. It's just because that will come guaranteed tomorrow evening. I know I'll actually be in, even though I won't have time to do a stream then. UK Amazon. There we go. Logitech webcam. That's the one. Add to basket. No thanks, I don't need accidental cover for 2 years. Proceed to checkout. So yeah, once I do streams next week, it should hopefully look a lot better. Tomorrow evening, yeah. And it's on my debit card by now. There we go, done. I'll go back to the thing. Right, yeah, you have to let me know on Twitter later, Mike, if it shows you how much you've got from that, but I think it was £60 or $59.99, so hopefully it's got you some decent commission. Yeah, it's like one of the ones like that. I know it's not that exact model, but yeah, very good, very nice sort of prices, aren't they? No, I've not heard of chocolate ammo. I'd still not really recommend doing that because you're just going to put asbestos into a load of water. I'd be very careful what you do. It was UK Amazon, Mike. I used your link on your Warhammer video, I think it was. Just in case where I bookmarked your link in case it didn't work. Most expired filters should work absolutely fine against particulates. Well, the German M65 filter I have does not look like the Swiss one. The German M65 filter I have is a green filter. It's a different shape, so and it depends which. Probably not, because unfortunately, with that being that kind of really crap wall where it's just a bit of plaster and like plasterboard wall, whatever they call it, if I put too much weight on it, it could just cause a chunk of the wall to fall off. So I don't want to put too much in it. You can actually even see on the webcam where there's some holes in the wall where you know, bits have just gone through before where I've screwed stuff in or whatever. Alright, CJ. The filter I'm thinking of is called something like Zivilschutz filters, which I think means like civilian, like civil protection kind of filter or something, civil defence filter. Right, anybody got any good questions? Or are you all saying night? Because I'm happy to keep going for a bit longer if people are still going to be watching. You're on about asbestos filters, John, but as long as you're not disturbing them, they should be fine. In the UK, it's currently 8 minutes to 9 o'clock. There you go. If you want to see it on my watch to prove it. Yeah, cool, I was right. Personally, I just put on like a drying rack for like plates, and then, you know, just angle it so the water should run out the mask. Yeah, go ahead with your stupid question. Yes, basically, because you can't actually provide the R, which is radiological protection, in the filter anyway. It's just CBRN is the modern name for NBC, but I don't actually like them using CBRN on a lot of stuff because you can't actually block the radiological aspect, which is things like gamma rays and stuff like that. Cool. at the moment I don't think I have any more questions about the German language. Alright, I'm going to take the body armour off for a bit now, just because that is getting quite warm under there. I think I'd have a difficulty snake charming the EO 14 filter. I suppose I might be able to give it a go at some point, Rich. My favourite Russian mask is the SHMS, but that sounds like a very good price for a full PMK free set. I don't even have a PMK free, so yeah, £40, that sounds very good. Well, the C2A1 filter is meant to be the one that's totally safe. The filter that's meant to leak is just a regular C2 filter. But if you read into the whole chromium scandal, as I've gone over before, it's not, I don't think, as serious as people made out, because basically it's hexavalent chromium, or however it's pronounced, is you don't want to be breathing it in, but the people who got the cancers associated with it were people that were exposed to very big quantities of it. When actual studies were then done on like the risks from the filters, they said something like you'd have to be wearing the mask with a filter that was leaking chromium for several hours a day, you know, like every day, for probably like decades before you'd even have like a 1% risk increase of lung cancer. So the point was that as much as, yeah, the C2A1 is an improved design, the actual C2 filters aren't, you know, anywhere near as bad as people thought. It was just a lot of them were made to a low standard at the time that, you know, people got quite worried about them. Well, they were quite good for when they came out, but they're obviously horribly antiquated by today's standards because they're just passive night, sorry, not passive night vision. Is it active night vision you call them? It's the ones where you require an actual thrower light with them. So it's like Gen 0 night vision, like the thing I've got. If you read the description, Jamie, you'd find out. Yeah, the C2A1 filter's definitely better, but as said, I don't think the C2 filters are as risky as people made out. It was just because a lot of the C2 filters were made to a low standard, chromium leaked out, which then caused the scandal. And then, you know, it was investigated. It turned out chromium wasn't really all that bad, but for the C2A1 they made it a different colour and they removed the chromium just so people, you know, I guess, weren't as worried about it. But the thing is, for quite a long time you needed chromium in the filters. I think it was for ammonia protection, because the chromium was a catalyst for certain gases that you couldn't just simply remove with charcoal, or you'd need an absolutely massive charcoal filter to yeah. You can watch my video on why I like it, yippee. But it's mostly just because it's very comfortable for me. It's got a nice sort of strap harness. You know, you get good visibility out of it. It's got polycarbonate lenses which are fairly strong. You know, it's just a combination of being comfortable, you know, lightweight and all the other factors. I don't know if I've ever seen a blackbird do a mating dance, Peach. I was thinking about making a joke then, but I think because I'm in the UK I better not. I'd assume probably Lee Enfield actually is the oldest one in my collection. Because my PPSH is from somewhere in the 40s, my M1 carbine's from somewhere in the 40s, but the Lee Enfield's 1939. Yeah, I'm sure you could get see what I was getting at, Mike, with that, but yeah, I won't risk the joke. No, it can't leak out because you'd have a intake valve in the mask, you'd have the plug you've put at the bottom of the filter, so even if the asbestos or whatever was trying to leak out on its own accord, it wouldn't get out, or whatever filter you're on about. So yeah, there's no risk, because you'd have to be actually shaking it to risk stuff coming out of the filter if it even had a tear in it in the first place. And then you've got valves on either side blocking it. You know, it's only a risk if you're breathing through old filters, because you're actually pulling stuff through when you're breathing. I mean, in theory, you could have an old filter, and as long as it wasn't disturbed, you wouldn't even need the plugs on it, and nothing would fall out. But obviously, yeah, putting plugs on them is safer, and it's not going to come through the mask and get you, because all mouths have, masks have intake valves. So yeah, like, what my point is, that obviously this is a bad example with the M50, but it still stands as a point, because it doesn't use 40mm filters. But where you've got that valve on the M50, if you imagine most masks with a 40mm filter, you've got that, and then you've got a valve that would open and close as you breathe, so stuff can't actually get through the valve. You know, there's only a very few masks I have that don't actually have intake valves. Now to get these awkward filters back into position, there we go. Not that I know of. I mean, there's masks with polycarbonate lenses, but that's only going to protect you from like stones and things like that. There's nothing that's going to stop bullets. Alright, cool. Yeah, so you like listening to it how like I listen to podcasts. Well, I don't listen to podcasts doing exams, obviously, because I'm too old for school and all that sort of stuff, but it will still be fine, mate. Don't worry about it too much. As I said, you can have a filter on its own that's loose, and as long as you're not constantly shaking it about, there's no risk of anything getting out. So if you've got a valve, even if it doesn't seal properly and you're not moving the filter around, it will be absolutely fine. About 100, I guess, yippee, but I don't actually know exactly because I've not bothered recording them all now. But some of those are duplicates, you know, because I have two S10s, I have two GP5s, I have two GP5Ms, you know, that sort of thing. If you took away all the duplicates, it would be probably like 80 or something. No, unfortunately I don't, because I don't have a PO box or anything. But, I mean, obviously I've got a Patreon and the merch store and everything that you can find in the description, so if you wanted to support me that way you can do, but nobody's obliged to. But yeah, it's just obviously for my own safety reasons I don't give out my address or anything, so I can actually get sent stuff. And being in the UK, as I've covered before, and Weapon Collector said about this, if somebody sends you something that's not technically legal to have in the UK, you can get done for it even though you weren't the one who asked for it. Right, so we're at 1 hour and 3 minutes now, and there's 28 people watching, so I'm going to definitely go for a bit longer. Whether or not I manage the full 2 hours, I don't know. It depends how many good questions are coming in, because sometimes it will drag a bit if I don't have any good questions for a while. So, yeah, let me get my water bottle out now. Wherever I've put that. There it is. I just knocked my hand on my machete, but that's alright. It's not very sharp. Need to put this, I'll put it there. I just need to put it somewhere it's not going to block the camera or the microphone. I like both, but I'd say probably Indian food more, but the Indian takeaway or, you know, eating in a restaurant tends to be more expensive than Chinese food. When I have Chinese food, what I normally get is chicken and cashew nuts, and I get that normally, I think it's yellow bean sauce, which is kind of like a fruity, slightly spicy sauce. We've got onto food, aren't we? With egg fried rice, obviously, some prawn crackers and everything. There's other Chinese dishes I like as well, but that's the one I generally have because at our local Chinese takeaway, if you get that one, it's a similar price to all the other meals, but you get nothing but, you know, chicken and cashew nuts, which are both quite expensive. Whereas some of the other things, you know, you get loads and loads of like fruit or pepper or something in there. That, you know, like, so they fill up a lot of the weight of the container using, you know, like veg, whereas if you buy chicken and cashews, it's like 50% chicken, 50% cashew nuts, so it's actually much better value for money. With Indian food, I like chicken korma, chicken tikka masala, butter chicken. Is it chicken kashmir as well? And there's also, is it chicken pasanda? With some of these, I can't remember which one's which, but they're all ones I like. But I generally like the ones that are like not too spicy, just because it can irritate my stomach where I've got ulcerative colitis and sometimes give me like heartburn type stuff. But like the low spicy ones, the medium spicy ones, I quite like. I don't know what I'm going to be streaming on a game stream next, because as I said just now, I've bought a new webcam. I'm mostly doing the webcam streams just because a lot more people watch these. Now I find it easier to do a game stream because I don't have to have the lighting all set up and everything for a stream. I don't have to talk as much, you know, there's less awkward pauses because you're actually playing a game. But I really don't know what the next game I'm going to stream is, to be honest, when I stream a game next. Because like I said, I'm just going to be doing a webcam streams for a while because more people watch them. I've already played through all of Half-Life 2 on a stream. Well, I didn't do the very end chapters because I find them quite boring, but I did do the majority of Half-Life 2 on streams a while ago, so you can find the old videos on the channel if you want to watch them. I just want to check something quickly. It's not going to affect the people watching at all, it's just one of the annoying things of the new YouTube interface where I have to work out where something is. Yeah, cool, that's all good. Yeah, I think it will obviously depend with logistics. If you're in a country where something's relatively cheap, then obviously that's going to have a knock-on effect, isn't it? But I've not even got that installed anymore because I didn't like it. They did loads and loads of updates that ruined the balance of the game. Any idea what you'll be streaming, Mike? Well, I've already got a load of summer clothing, so I don't need to buy any more. Yeah, Peach reminding everybody to like the stream or else. I haven't played Team Fortress 2 in ages because I hate it again. It was one of those games I liked it at launch, but when they kept doing all the, you know, different weapons that rebalanced everything, it kind of broke the game because it was meant to just be Team Fortress Classic but simplified, and then they ended up making it more complex than Team Fortress Classic. Wow, it's what I guess you call medium spec now. It was new spec up until a couple of years ago, but now it would be like medium spec because there's new spec, isn't there? So, the charging handle moves, but you can't put it all the way forwards. Trigger's welded, the mag comes out, safety's welded, the top gas tube is removed, but you can open it at the back. You can take the magazines out, as I probably just said. So some of the bits move on it, but not all of it. What do you mean by that? Do you mean like sort of myth kind of thing, Slingshot Warrior? What, like crossbow shooting and air rifle shooting? I've not done much of that recently. I mean, as the weather gets better, I might do. But it's just I've not thought of anything particularly interesting to do that's different and stuff like that. Is that a Dorling Kingsley one? Because I've got a couple of Dorling Kingsley kind of encyclopedias on firearms and like melee weapons and stuff like that, so I might even have that very book. Because sometimes what happens for like my birthday or Christmas is people buy me like, you know, things like WH Smith's or whatever it is, vouchers for places like that. So I generally always buy books from there if I get a book voucher. So quite often I just buy encyclopedias. I've played the first Modern Warfare 2 and 3, but the original Modern Warfare was my favourite, as in Call of Duty 4. One of the books my friend gave me, if I can get it out to show you without knocking loads of stuff flying, give me a minute, I might have to move loads of stuff around. I'll show you the 3 books at the moment. I'm currently kind of jumping between when I read, but sometimes I'll go like a week or days without reading. Book of the Dead, The Complete History of Zombie Cinema, which Chris, one of the chefs at work, bought for me because he said, oh, that will be a book you'll like. And he's right. So I was very grateful that he got me that. I gave him some old DVDs in exchange that he hadn't got. British Military Respirators and Anti-Air Gas Equipment of the Two World Wars. Again, I know a lot of the stuff in stuff like that, but it's just interesting to, you know, go through stuff and read it. And the Encyclopedia of Alien Encounters, and that was the one I thought of when what's his name said about it. Slingshot Warrior said about stuff like that. Just because that's, you know, like quite an interesting thing with you know, it's just like an alphabetical encyclopedia of a lot of stuff, either UFO incidents or stuff related to UFO kind of things. From what I understand, East German AKs are very good, if we're talking about the Cold War ones, because I imagine modern Russian AKs are probably the best ones. Pyro's gas mask to me looks most like a oh, thank you very much, Matt. Pyro's mask to me looks very much like a British C7 mask. It's not exactly like that, but it looks fairly similar. I think I have one of those Forces books. I don't know which year it is, but quite often I get things like that from charity shops when they have them in there for like £1 or less. Because sometimes when I was on holiday, you know, I'd just go in charity shops, see if they had any encyclopedia kind of books really cheap, and just buy them to read while on holiday. And then I'd bring them back and stick them in the bookcases. I'd say probably 7.62 NATO, if we're on about the 2 NATO rounds. Just because obviously 7.62 NATO reaches further, you know, can go through thicker cover and things like that. 5.56 is certainly useful for certain things, especially, you know, soldiers can carry a lot of it, and it's pretty low recoil. But I think 7.62 overall is a better round if you could only choose between the two, because it gives you longer engagement ranges and it, you know, obviously has more power. You might have to get them all down at some point, Mike, and do like a catalogue nostalgia style video of them. That would be interesting, if the monster in your loft doesn't get you. No, the Soviet PMG is the influence between the Metro Cop mask in Half-Life 2. It doesn't really look like the Pyro mask. I could kind of see why you say that, but to me it doesn't look like it. Right, I'm going to go for at least another 15 minutes. But yeah, I know the Pyro definitely has the GP5 and things because they added a load in updates, didn't they? But as I said, I've not played TF2 in yonk, so. Well, yeah, 5.45 Soviet was actually very good because it had the ability where, you know, they really didn't care about human rights conventions, where they did like a little hollow bit in the bullet, didn't they? So it would tumble in flesh targets, but it would actually go straight through things like wood and like thin steel, which is you know, was one of the very good advantages it had over 5.56 until they, you know, did lots and lots of upgrades to 5.56. But obviously the Soviets had the advantage that 5.45 by 39mm came out after 5.56 came out, so the Soviets basically just backwards engineered something similar. But I do like, obviously, the AK-74 platform, because it's like an AKM, but better. Yeah, I like Dead Man's Shoes, that's a good movie. Yeah, he wears a GP5, doesn't he, in bits of it. But I don't think he has the filter on, does he? Which is probably good, because it means he doesn't get asbestosis. Yeah, you can't post links, I'm afraid, just simply because YouTube automatically deletes the links. So it's not even like me or a mod will see them. It's just, you'll post a comment, and your comment will disappear. And then, I don't know, YouTube might even put you on some list for doing that, or shadow ban you or something. If you do it too much, I don't know. What about Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl? Like the drones for filming things. The problem is I live quite close to an airfield, so that might be quite dodgy. I mean, I know I could fly it over my garden, it wouldn't be a problem. But if you ever see the videos where I'm outside and doing shooting and you hear planes flying over, it's because I don't live all that far from an airfield. It's not like a big airport, but I do live relatively close to an airfield, and obviously you have to be very careful about getting drones near an airfield, because that's an actual offence. I played Stalker, Call of Chernobyl mod, and Call of Pripyat, the actual game, on streams before. But I think the first time they see him, isn't it, when they've all taken the drugs and then he like sneaks around the flat or whatever with the mask on. Favourite looking, or do they have to be practical? Because if you just want things that look cool, I can name you a load, even if they wouldn't be very good. So it can be NATO or Pact, right? If we just want ones that look cool but aren't necessarily any good to wear, or, you know, not, you know, to actually be functional, the Hungarian M76, I think it is. I think that looks really cool, even though it's a pretty useless mask by design. French M51. Lots of those are falling apart now because they put a very weak rubber valve on the exhale valve, but it looks cool. The Draeger M65, that again, it only fits certain face types, but it's a pretty good mask if it fits you, and it looks cool. British light anti-gas respirators you can sometimes get around the £30 or less price range, and they look cool. Soviet MM1 masks, I'm just looking at my Soviet MM1 I have up there. That's cool. Nokia M61s as well I like. Soviet GP4s. Personally, I don't think I do look like an egg. Yeah, but you'd need to be able to actually fly, wouldn't you? I don't know how to fly a plane. I've played flight simulators, but I don't know if I'd have. That's interesting, Jake. No, I've only got a repro of a World War I gas mask. And as I've said quite a few times, I wouldn't get World War I masks, so I wouldn't be able to look after them properly. I've got quite a few videos anyway, NATO, 1510 on, I was going to say on cheap sort of masks, so you can just watch the videos if you want reminders of any of them. Right, if anybody's got any interesting questions, make sure you post them. I've done a video explaining that RORA, but mostly because they're very cheap to buy as surplus. Yeah, water certainly can stop bullets. You know, that's one of the things they do with ballistics labs when they want to actually identify like murder weapons, is they shoot bullets into like a big tank of water so they can recover the bullets relatively intact to check barrel markings on them. So yeah, water does stop bullets. There's also specially developed underwater guns, because obviously a conventional rifle won't, even if you got one that could shoot underwater, wouldn't shoot the bullet very far. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Ennis, unless you've misspelt it, or I'm just being dumb and not realising what you're on about. I mean, I don't know if you got loads and loads of water balloons and wore them as armour if they'd work, but I think Kevlar would probably be a better option. Oh, handcuffs. No, I've only got one pair of handcuffs somewhere. They're not the fluffy kind, don't worry. They're like steel ones, you know, with the unlock with a key. They're not very good, but I have no idea where they are. I mean, I can understand why people would want them, but yeah, I've only got the one pair, and I don't really have much need for them. I've got quite a lot of cable ties though, because cable ties are always practical. Yeah, I mean, obviously for its use in military stuff, it's been used long enough. 5.56, it is useful. There were certain problems with it, but a lot of that was to do with wasn't it lots of nations shooting it from carbines or rifles with a barrel below a certain length, and the particular 5.56 round they were using didn't reach the proper velocity when shot from a carbine. I know the modern ones, that's not an issue. I know it performs very well now. But like I said, I just like kind of 7.62 by 51mm more, just because, even like I said, I don't shoot them because I'm in the UK, just because of its, you know, range and power difference. But yeah, 5.56 is absolutely fine for what it is. I don't really have interest in playing Rust or any more of those survival games. I've got so many survival games on my Steam account, I just can't get into them. I'm one of those weird people where, despite the fact I'm actually autistic, I can't enjoy Minecraft. So, it's a bit strange, isn't it? But I can't even get into Minecraft, to be honest, so a lot of these survival games don't interest me at all. Yeah, if it was a choice, mate, between 7.62 by 39 and 5.56, I'd pick 5.56 just because it's got a flatter trajectory. While 7.62 is slightly better at shooting through things like concrete blocks and stuff like that, I'd rather have more 5.56 ammunition, lower recoil, you know, and the better accuracy it offers. But yeah, 7.62 by 51 is when I talk about 7.62. I'm normally on about 7.62 NATO, like the foul shoots. Um, 5.56, as far as I'm aware, is the bullet diameter, and the by 45mm is the case length. It's the one that's also known as .223 or .223. Although I think 223 and 5.56 are slightly different, aren't they? But most guns that can shoot 5.56 can shoot 223. But again, it might be good to ask Americans in the chat about that, because they can tell you a lot more about firearms than I can, because obviously being in the UK means you're a bit restricted on what you can and can't shoot. I preferred CSS to CSGO. I've played a bit of CSGO, but I never really got into it. I preferred Counter-Strike Source. But that's going back to 2000. I know the CSS came out in like 2004, didn't it, when Half-Life 2 came out? But saying that, I used to play loads of CSS when I was in secondary school. So that was trying to think what sort of years that was. Probably like 2006, 2007, 2008 sort of time. I played CSS constantly. Yeah, I was saying earlier in the stream, I've got Verdun. I don't really enjoy the multiplayer. I like the you know, co-op mode against the AI, where they come in bigger and bigger waves. But the problem I find with the multiplayer a lot of the time is somebody's in a perfect spot, so as soon as you try and advance, you keep getting shot, and there's not much you can do. It's just one of those games that I get fed up of trying to play. It's also one of those annoying games where you have to put your graphics settings on low to see where enemy soldiers are more easily. Because if you put the game on the highest settings where it actually looks nice, it becomes really hard to see people. And most of the people playing in that game have all their graphics settings on low so they can see you from further away. Yeah, I mean, technically military rounds would have to be full metal jacket, wouldn't they? Because I think hollow points are banned for military use. Is the Zastava M77 that really cool looking sort of Yugoslavian one? Because I know there's one with like a straight mag that they did do in 7.62 NATO, if I'm thinking of the right one, or maybe I'm thinking of a totally different gun. Like, you see lots of pictures of it in the breakup of Yugoslavia being used by snipers or designated marksmen. Or is that like a Tokarev kind of one? Joshua. Which particular war are you on about, Slingshot Warrior? Because there's quite a few wars India's been involved in. Or are you on about ones with Native Americans actually in the US? Anybody speaking about Yugoslavia though, I suppose I can get it out fairly easily where I'm currently. There's a Yugoslav Zastava M72 RPK. This is the M72 AB1 with the underfolding stock, which is kind of funny having an RPK with an underfolder on it, but there you go. See, there you are. If that's all in frame anyway. This was the cheapest DIAC I ever bought actually. It was only just over £100 because it was quite beat up, but I like having it beat up, you know, Kalashnikov, because let's get the thing back over. Yeah, like, you know, holes in the wood, burnt looking metal, but you know, Kalashnikovs look good when they're a bit beaten up, I think, because that's the kind of rifle it is. I really like the M70's handguard, because the M70 is one of the few AKs, isn't it, that has the three kind of smaller holes on the handguard rather than the two bigger ones. Hang on. Get the, yeah, sort of, it's got three things along there, hasn't it, rather than the but yeah, you can see where they've deactivated this one. You can see where that's all welded in there. They've cut the barrel open, welded it. But the mag release still works on this, and it's a functioning magazine. And they're inert rounds, if anybody's wondering. I've not got live rounds in it. I'll put that back away now. If I can get it back in the position I had it in. There we go, I think that's stable. Yeah, that's the problem with a lot of some of the DIACs. They cost even more than getting a live gun if you actually had the license for it. Yeah, I wouldn't mind if I saw one in good condition for not loads. I wouldn't mind getting a deactivated, what was I going to say? Like, you know, a different type of AK. You know, like maybe an AKS or something, you know, like a shorter one. just so I've got a different AK, and maybe I'd even put that on the wall then. But you know, the RPK was the first deactivated gun I got because I like AK platform guns, and it was just that one was so much cheaper than a lot of the other AKs on the site at the time. Yeah, don't worry about it, Gopher. Anyway, I'm going to be wrapping the stream up in a couple of minutes. So, oh, and it's because it's not got the bipod attached to that RPK. That was one of the other reasons they didn't charge anywhere near as much for it. Like, they had the same rifle in stock, but I think the one with a better wooden handguard that was less beaten up. And the bipod was then like 400 to 500 quid, but it was like 150 for the one missing the bipod, so I was like, yeah, I'll go for that. It's not like you're going to shoot it, is it? Because it's a deactivated gun, so it doesn't really bother me that it's got a missing bipod. Yeah, I don't mind the AR-15 at all. I mean, obviously I can't shoot it, but I think there are better 5.56 rifles now than the M16 platform. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with the AR-15s. They've got good accuracy and everything. You know, they're well-made rifles. I'm certainly not one of those people who's like, oh, an AR-15 would jam non-stop. You know, if I had the choice of owning any 5.56 rifle, I'd probably prefer like one of the SIG 550 series type ones, but you know. Oh, that's cool. They're deactivated Uranite, so they're basically ones that you can buy just to have as wall hangers, as long as you don't wave them about in the street or something and scare people with them. They're totally legit to own, but obviously they won't fire because they've been welded shut and everything. Right, cool. I'm going to finish off this stream now, so thank you for watching, everybody. I'm not going to do a stream tomorrow because I've got quite a lot of stuff to do. I won't be doing a stream at the weekends, most likely, because I'll be working at the weekends, and then in the evening, often when I come back from work, I just want to, you know, have some dinner and then go to bed, maybe watch a film. So Monday will probably be the next day I'm streaming, and that will have to be earlier in the day again, because obviously, what was I going to say? Because I'm out doing a rehearsal in the evening on Monday. But then, by Monday, I should have the new webcam, which will look much nicer, so it should be better quality. I assume it will pick up light better. It will be 1080p, not 720p. So hopefully, as of then, the webcam streams look a bit more professional. As I've already bought a much better microphone for these streams, it makes sense that I, you know, invest in a better webcam now. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Glad you enjoyed it, all the people who were watching it. And see you Monday, I guess, for the next stream.